Okay, it's just 10:30 now, so I think I will go ahead because we don't want to keep anyone over today. So hi everybody, welcome to the next episode in our Open Networking webinar series, Unboxing Open Networking, the Hardware Within. My name is Ciara McCarthy, I'm the Global Marketing Director for EPS Global. Just to give you a bit of background on EPS, we are the open networking distributor of choice globally for a whole host of industries. We sit at the center of the open networking ecosystem, bringing together the hardware and the open NOS software to create turnkey solutions for our customers. We offer technical advice, configuration of software and hardware bundles, that's switches, optics, cables, and more. We've been around for 20 years and we've 28 global locations, so we're never far away. So just a bit of housekeeping for today. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them. You can type them into the chat window and Barry will answer them at the end. If there's anything that we don't get to, we will follow up with personal emails to you after the webinar to answer anything. Okay, so the agenda for today. We're going to start with who is Edgecore Networks, the evolution of the hardware and use cases, contributions to the OCP, the Open Compute Project, the Edgecore Lab, open NOSes and cross-pollination, and finally the direction and momentum of open hardware and the OCP. So just to give you a quick intro to our speakers today, we are delighted to have Łukasz Lukowski from Edgecore Networks with us as a guest speaker. Łukasz leads Edgecore Networks channel sales business in EMEA, and he's responsible for establishing and developing distribution and reseller relationships across the region. He has expertise in the network infrastructure, data center, security, and associated technology markets. He is one of the first open networking evangelists in Europe and has been working closely with the OCP, TIP, the ONF, he is an A-Team ambassador there, Terragraph and Express Wi-Fi program to help make change happen in the EMEA region. Next up, we have Barry McGinley. Barry McGinley works for EPS. He is our systems engineer for EMEA, and he's our resident techie with a broad knowledge of open networking. And he supports all of our customer engagements. Barry enjoys a pint of Guinness, and he's an avid Celtic supporter. I'll let him speak for himself later, but he writes an excellent monthly blog, which is on our website at epsglobal.com. Finally, our second guest speaker is Steve Helvey, who is the VP of Channel Development for the OCP. Steve helps to educate organizations on the benefits of open hardware designs and the value of community-driven engineering for the data center. He works closely with solution providers and manufacturers to help organizations adopt open compute across all regions and segments of the market. Steve has held various leadership and channel development roles for companies like Microsoft, AsiaPac, and Rackspace in the UK. So I will now pass you over to Łukasz, who will speak next from Edgecore. Thanks.
Yes, much appreciated for that also introduction, and I'm really grateful to be here with all of you. So skipping our agenda, I would like to share with you a little bit more details about Edgecore Networks. So once again, my name is Łukasz Lukowski. I'm working on Edgecore Networks. I'm focusing primarily on the sales and channels and covering the EMEA region. But before I will give you a rough idea about the Edgecore Networks, always it is right to start from our mother company, from the Accton technology. So Accton is one of the ODM, Taiwanese ODM, original design manufacturer, definitely leading the networking ODM business for today more than 30 years. If you will go over some briefly figures, you can see that the last year as a whole group, we've been able to close on $1.8 billion US. which is also interesting to mention that when you see some others ODMs, the primary difference, and I'm really saying that with a great honor and pleasure, is that we are focusing on the networking. So those 30 years of the experience, it is a real experience coming from the networking, both wide and wireless, where some other similar companies, which you can see on the market, they are coming from the server or the storage world. So it's a little bit different story. We have around 5,000 plus employees, around 1,000 engineers, and we are really able to provide high volume manufacturing. Our factories are located in China and also in Taiwan. Frankly speaking, we have even a pretty brand new one in Taiwan. Accton is providing the hardware for most of the tier one brands, which you know from the market. I don't want it to bring any names, but those all manufacturers, like as an example, Cisco, Dell, HP, and others, they are using such as company like Accton Technology to design and manufacture their hardware. Then going back to the Edgecore, we are like a branded business inside the Accton Technology. Company been started in 2004. We've been focusing on a couple of different markets, starting historical from so-called traditional business, where we had our traditional switches and APs with our own software. But today, primarily, we are focusing on open networking and open hardware, bare metal switches, which I would like to share a little bit more today with you. We are a leading contributor of open designs. We've been one of the first members at Open Compute Project. We are also working very active at TIP and also supporting ONF. Speaking about the volume, just as an Edgecore, last year we've been shipping more than 10 million Ethernet ports, and I can tell you that most of them being related with 100G speed last year. I really like that slide because it is simple, but saying and showing a lot of direction. So this is showing how the whole evolution of open networking started. More than 6 years ago, it will be, we all been starting in the data center disaggregation. So the first 10G and the 40G switches. And as you can see today, even that the open networking been born in the data centers, it's been evaluating and migrating to also different area, different markets like the telcos, enterprise campus. So starting from the data center, primarily what is changing over those all years, speed, the speed, the throughput, definitely this is something which is growing. As I mentioned it, on the beginning, that was a disaggregation of the first simple if and spine, 10G, 40G. Then we had 100G switches. Today, you will find 32 100G, 64 times 100G, 28, 256, and even 512 times 100G. So definitely that is growing. Of course, for more than 1 year, we are already with the 400G. And that is also evaluating. Then going to the telco market, like a tier one, especially operators, those gentlemen, they are also able to use some 10G, 40G, 100G switches, but we very soon realized that there are some unique requirements coming from that market, which are also related not only with software, but also with our hardware, like a higher buffer or external Telecom, or we have to deal with some environment challenges where we are going to the street cabinets and so on. then, of course, to complete the portfolio and be able to offer a really solution where you are able to use in your data center, but also in your campus, enterprises, or even your warehouses, from that market, there were also coming some basic requirements like a PoE, like some VXLAN support. So that is also a market of our focus, and I will show you some couple of slides right away. So data center, this is a typical leaf and spine topology. Today, your leaves could be 10G or 40G or even 100G. Of course, when you are using a breakout cables, I believe that I shouldn't repeat that, but I can again mention about that. We can split the interface 100G to 4 times 25G, 4 times 10G, or change the speed from 100G to the 40G. So the fully 100G you can also see as a leaf switches. And then we are going to the up to the spine, which primarily today are 100G or slowly 400G. In the past, you can also see here 40G switches. So we will not go over our 100% portfolio, but I would like to share with you some of our interesting cooperation with some hyperscalers like Facebook, where we can share officially. So we've been working with Facebook for a good couple of years, and we are manufacturing a few models for Facebook. We've been starting from a wedge called 16X. That was a tried and true, a little bit older today design with 16 times 40G. Then we've been switching to fully 100G, 32 100G, call it wedge 100S, and something new, which is already, by the way, used by a Facebook in the data center. That latest design is called Mini Pack. It's really nice. It's modular. So we have there a single ASIC. It is the Tomahawk 3. We have really powerful CPU, Intel Xeon, and we have 8 slots for our line cards. Today, we do have 2 line cards, 60 times 100G or 4 times 400G. So that box really is able to scale your whole traffic from the east to the west, because you are not limited to 32 or 64 times 100G like in the past. You can even go from one single ASIC and CPU to 128. But also, if needed, that box could be potentially your leaf switch. Of course, you will have to manage your cables a little bit differently, but this is also an option. You can just put a 400G line card or 2 and go up to fully populated 32 100G mini pack. Going to the telco market, they are also taking some leverage from a leaf and spine topology. So I have on mine a close, and there is a couple of different version or variation of a topology topology called core, central office redesigned as a data center. So if you will take a look, this is like a typical leaf and spine. But when in the data center market, we are connecting here your server and storage primarily. Here in those leaves, we can aggregate your open OLTs or go with maybe your edge routers and so on, so on. So there is a couple of, let's say, different variation of that core, like a residential core, e-core, enterprise core, mobile core, and analytic. And we as an Edgecore, we are focusing on a couple of areas of the typical telco network. So if we will take a look on the architecture, we have an access, aggregation, and telcos, they also do have their own data center. So speaking about the access, we have so-called universal CPEs, which can be also used for some enterprise customers. we are going over passive optical networks and open OLTs, or we are also going to 4G, 5G network mobile backhaul. I will show you also some slides. Then for the aggregation, this is where some other requirements are coming, like a large TCAM or higher, like typical buffer. And going even to really big disaggregated routers, this is also what you can find in the open networking. So not like those few years ago, open 10G, 40G, 100G switches, but really designed specialized hardware for a lot of different purposes. So